Hey there traders, it's Jeff from thestockbandit.com. Thanks for joining me for this video. It's time once again as we head into a new week of trading to just kind of examine where the market is, what are the key levels going forward so that we can kind of understand what's going to influence how individual stocks move. That's where the real moves takes place, is in the individual names, and so we keep a close eye on the indices as our guide. Now, last week we bounced back pretty sharply coming off the most recent pullback. So for the NASDAQ, we had topped out here at 33.06. We pulled back and made a lower low here. The prior pullback low was at 31.68. We got down to 31.54. And then, of course, last week we rallied up pretty sharply and we created, at least for now, for the time being, a lower high here in the short term. This was the high right here at 33.06. We now have a high right beneath it at 33.01. Now we did pull back a little bit on Friday, and in fact, as I zoom in a little bit here, what that did was pull back to fill this little gap from Thursday morning going back to Wednesday's close. So that's just kind of normal backing and filling. We didn't see any nasty volume with Friday's decline. It only was a 10-point decline. So nothing real substantial in terms of selling pressure. But for now, we just kind of remain beneath key resistance here, and of course that opens the door for a deeper decline, especially after this lower low scenario that just played out 2 weeks ago. For the S&P 500, this index also made an incremental lower low as it broke these prior lows right here. It got down to this 1536 area right here on April 18th, but it did hold above this 1530 level, which is really the big level in my opinion. That was some resistance back here during February. Once we cleared it, it then has become some support since then. Now we are also beneath this prior high at 1597. Last week we got up here to 1592 and then backed off a little bit into Friday's session. So again, just largely range bound here beneath key resistance, but have some breathing room here above this 1530 key support area. For the Russell 2000, this index continues to show some signs of deterioration. It's pretty subtle, even though we've seen a couple of decent little pullbacks here. They've both been met with some pretty good rebounds as well. What that's given us is now, this was the high back here at 954. We have created a lower high right here at 951, and then last week we created a second lower high at 944. Now we've also got a short-term lower low already in place. We've got room from this current 935 area all the way down to this 894. That's this key support that's been in place for much of this calendar year. So we've got plenty of breathing room here. However, this pair of lower highs that we've seen in recent weeks is the biggest cause for concern for the Russell. Overall, it still remains range bound, but with lower highs and lower lows within the range, I would expect to see at some point a test or possibly a break of this 894 level going forward. And then finally, we've got the Dow, which continues to hold above this 14,380 level. That's the real key support that's been in place for a number of weeks. We also have a little bit of a short-term lower high scenario. The peak for this index, 14,887. We've also got this 14,768, which was last week's high. So we've got, you know, a little bit of a short-term lower high, but it's not really grounds for concern until we get a break below this 14,380 level. That's the big level, which if broken would finally bring some more decent profit taking for the Dow. But largely the S&P, the NASDAQ, those are really going to be the driving forces for this market. We'll continue to keep a close eye on the Russell 2000 small cap index. That's really the speculative index, and that's where kind of the hot money flows in and flows out, and therefore it's really the biggest indication of the appetite for risk out there in the overall market. Now, I've been pretty selective in terms of trades for the last couple of weeks and swing trades. But there have still been some really nice moves. So if you're looking for some trade ideas to add to your own, check out the free trial at thestockbandit.com. We'd love to show you what we're all about. Other than that, thanks for joining me for this video. I will have more for you soon. But until then, trade like a bandit.